In this video today, I'm going to show you how to use the Cricut Joy and the new Cricut Mug Press to make this mug. I'll be using this true yellow Infusible Ink transfer sheets, and I'll show you the entire process from start to finish. So we'll go ahead and get started in Design Space. So the first thing that we're going to do is find our design that we want to put on our mug. The first thing that we're going to do is find our Bless This Mess image. So clearly you can use whatever image you want, but this is the one that I went with. And I just found it while I was searching through the images here in Design Space. So if you come over to Images and we'll click on this, I actually really like to look at the image sets when I'm searching through here. So if you come up to where it says Category, All Images, if you click on All Images, and then over here on the left we'll click Image Sets. So that's how I found it. I just was looking through the different image sets, seeing what's new, and I came across this one that I really liked. But let me show you another way to find this. So if we come over to our Layers panel over here, see where it says Slice Result? If we click on our design, we right-click on it and go down to Image Info, we can also see where it came from here as well. So if we click on View Image Sets, this is the image set that I found, and then I saw this Bless This Mess. So let's go ahead and click on that design and click Insert Images. Perfect. Then from here I created the offset. If you haven't used offset before, it's a fun feature and it's really simple to do. It's up here in the toolbar. We'll click on offset. And then you can scroll to the left to make it a thinner offset or to the right to make it thicker. And just pick a thickness that you'd like. And I'm going to leave the corner rounded and click on apply. So now we have our two layers. We have our offset and then we have the design. But as you can see over here in my image, I actually sliced out the words Bless This Mess so that we can weed that out, and then basically just the offset is what's going to be the Infusible Ink. So we're going to go ahead and slice this design. So highlight the both of them and go ahead and click Slice in the bottom right hand corner. Then we have a couple different new layers. So we've got our offset sliced with Bless This Mess, and then we have these two, so we can go ahead and delete those. And now we have the offset and the slice all finished. The thing that we're going to do is create a template that will help us line our design up on the mug. So do you see how there is this rectangle around the Bless This Mess? I actually created a file in an outside program from Design Space, and I'm going to be using that to help me line up my mug. I have it free to download on our blog. The link for that is in the description below. So if you want to use it too, you'll save it from our blog, upload it to Design Space, and then when you have it all uploaded, it'll pop up right here. So we'll click on that and click Insert Images. Now it's going to come up in this gigantic size. We need to size it down for the dimensions of our mug. I am working with a 15-ounce mug today, so that's what I'm going to be sizing mine for. And the dimensions for that are 4.25 by 2.9. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here under size, then go ahead and click lock. So there's our little template. I did another video recently on how to layer Infusible Ink, and I also use this template method, and I explain a little bit more about why we're using it and how I came up with the idea to create it. If you'd like to learn more, I'll leave a link for that above and below. Definitely go check that out. So our goal here is to tell the Cricut to completely cut through the Infusible Ink around this rectangle and then to just do a regular kiss cut or just cut it regularly through our design. But let's just start by sizing this down. So I'm just clicking and dragging, and we're going to fit it into our rectangle here. And I'm going to just make this a different color so it's easier to see. So I think that looks about good. Remember, this will be the top of our mug, and this will be the bottom of the mug. So this template can be really helpful. So now what we're going to do is actually duplicate this template, and then we are going to highlight the both of them, align, center, and then we'll group them. Then we're going to take our Bless This Mess and we're going to put it over our two templates, highlight the whole thing, align, center again, and the last thing that we're going to do is click Attach. So now we have three different layers that are all attached together. we have 2 of our templates, and we have 1 design. So what the Cricut is going to do is cut around the transfer sheet multiple times in this rectangle, and it will cut all the way through your design. But then when it comes to the offset and the Bless This Mess, it's just going to cut it regularly, and it'll be perfect. If this is confusing to you, I would recommend that you just watch the rest of this video, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like, obviously, when we make the mug. This just allows us to keep our design lined up straight because we have a straight line here for the top of the mug and a straight line here from the bottom of the mug. The reason that I duplicated the template is because we want the Cricut to cut multiple times through that. And we can't say, hey, cut the rectangle, 4 times and just cut this once. So we're just kind of manipulating it a little bit, I guess, to say, hey, there's, 2 of these layers, so make sure you cut through. And I've tested this, and this has worked for me. So I hope that makes sense for you. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. Alright, so then from here, we're going to make sure we have our correct machine selected, and we need the Cricut Joy. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete this guy since we already have our design, and we're going to click on Make It. It's going to ask us next how we're going to cut our material, and since it is not a smart material, we're going to be cutting it on the mat. Then we're going to increase our project copies to 2. And I'm working with a 12-inch mat, so I'm going to just change the mat size here. And I'm going to just bump this guy down a little bit. Then the last thing we're going to do is mirror our image and click Continue. So we're going to get started by applying our transfer sheet onto the cutting mat. I like to use a brayer tool to help me do this. So we'll go ahead and get this lined up. And then I like to just push down with the brayer tool. You could use a scraper as well. It does just the same thing. And then from here, we'll open our Cricut Joy, and we'll get this into the machine. Just slide it right up against that roller. And the first thing it's going to do is make sure that the mat is aligned. And then I just clicked Go in Design Space, and so it's going to go ahead and cut our design. So while this is cutting, I did want to highlight, since we used that template that I talked about while we were in Design Space, it's going to do a kiss cut through our design, the Bless This Mess, but then when it gets to the rectangle, it's actually going to cut through it multiple times. So don't be alarmed, that's just going to get it to cut that part out completely, which is exactly what we wanted to do. Alright, so it's all finished, and I just clicked Unload. So now we can get this removed from our cutting mat. I've got a few little frayed pieces here, and that's totally fine. That's just because it cut all the way through, which is perfect. So I like to flip the mat over and then hold my material straight while I let the mat do the bending. I find this to be really helpful in just preserving my material. And then, as you can see, it cut all the way through our transfer sheet, but then our design stayed to be that kiss cut. And you'll see, if you're still a little confused what I mean by that, you'll see in a second as we weed it. Alright, so let's talk about weeding Infusible Ink. If you have never weeded it before, it's a little bit different than weeding vinyl or iron-on. And actually, this feels like a thick paper to me. So what we're going to do is actually weed it with our hands. If we need to use tools to help us, we can. But for the most part, it's pretty simple to just weed it by hand. I will say too, when you're making your Infusible Ink design, I try to keep mine simpler in nature. I talk about this a lot in our videos working with Infusible Ink. I just find it to be easier for me. Of course, experiment and do what's best for you, but I try to keep things larger, not use super thin, narrow fonts, or have super tiny designs. I just find that when it comes to the weeding part of it, it's just easier if things are just simpler in nature. But like I said, try it out and do what's best for you. But if you're getting started, maybe stay on the simple side. And I think this Bless This Mess is a great one to get started with. So to weed it, I'm actually going to start, you can see that there's a little bend to it already, and I'm actually just going to follow that bend and roll it. So we're actually just going to pick the pieces off with our hand, and I find that rolling it a little bit really helps it to kind of get a little bit loose. Okay, so now we'll start in one corner, and we are just going to peel back the transparent sheet, and then our Infusible Ink should pop right up off. Do you see how that looks? So then you can just remove it with your fingers. So this is removing around our offset design. And now we will weed the inside of the design. So this part will be a little bit trickier just because we have some letters, but again, we're just going to kind of like bend a little bit and then pull it up. If you find pieces are coming up that are supposed to stay down, not a huge deal. Just go ahead and push those back down, or if they even pop off entirely, you can actually just go ahead and stick it right back on because this is sticky, which is really nice. So just take your time doing this. No need to rush through this process. And as you can see, do you see how it cut through the sheet entirely? So now we have a template, so that when we go and line it up on our mug, it's going to already be lined up evenly for us. And I'll talk about that more at the end, but I love using that when making mugs. It just helps me to get them lined up nice and straight. So I'm going to go ahead and finish weeding these, and then we'll keep moving on. We are all finished weeding, and here is what that looks like. And then if we flip it over when we put it onto our mug, it will be mirrored perfectly. So like I said, just take your time weeding it and you should be okay. So now from here, we are going to get our mug press preheated. All you have to do is plug it in and turn it on. If it's your first time working with the mug press, make sure you plug it into your computer and get your software up to date and get it registered. And while that's preheating, we will get our mug ready. So I am working, like I said, with a 15-ounce mug, which is the larger mug, and it is a Cricut mug. The first thing I'm going to do is take a lint roller and I'm going to clean off my mug to make sure there is no lint on it. Perfect. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and get our designs lined up. So it's important to know when we put our mug into the mug press, it's going to have the handle sticking out. So we need to be at least a ½ inch from the handle on each side, which is totally fine. I actually just want to get my design centered on here so that when you're holding it and looking at it, the design is centered perfectly here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just kind of prop this up on my brayer tool. I just find it's a little bit easier to look at that way. And then I'm super excited to show you how this template is going to make this a lot easier. So we're just going to go ahead and get this lined up. Now, we need to center it, so we'll have to manually do that. But do you see how, since we created the template, at the top and the bottom, all we have to do is line that up with the top and bottom of the mug, and it's going to be perfectly straight. I absolutely love using this. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this lined up. And then when you're happy with your placement, you can just go ahead and push down. I like to kind of start in the middle and then go side to side. And then I'm going to grab my scraper tool and I'm really going to push down well. We really want to make sure that this is stuck on. We'll add some tape in a second, but you want to make sure it's applied evenly and that there are no kinks or bubbles. So we'll just get everything smoothed out here. So from here, you technically might not need to apply tape because this clear sheet is sticky, but I'm going to apply tape anyway because I don't want my design to move at all while it's in the press. If it moves, it could risk having like a fading effect where it just looks like it's clearly been moved. So the tape is going to help keep the design in place. So I always like to tape on each side. And this is heat resistant tape. You can't just use any regular tape, and you can pick this tape up on our website as well, and it will last you a really long time. But I highly recommend taping it down. So then it looks like this. So now we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Perfect. So that is all set to go into our mug press now. So the next thing I'm going to do is just grab my Easy Press mat. You don't need to have one of these. I just have one on hand from making other projects with my Easy Press. But when your mug press is finished, we're going to place it on top of here. So I just like to have that handy. So let's talk through the mug press quick. So it's really simple to use. All you have to do is lift this handle, lift the lever up, and then as soon as you press it back down, it's going to start right away. So the only things that we're really looking for is to make sure that it's applied in straight and that all of our design is covered by this mint plate.
And as you can see, remember how I said earlier we're not within a 1/2 inch on each side of the handle? We are plenty far away from the handle, which is perfect. So we don't really need to worry about the plate not covering, but if you do have designs that are coming really close, just make sure as you're putting your mug in that the mint plate is completely covering your design. So all you have to do is lift the lever and then slide in your mug. And again, just make sure the whole design is covered. You don't want to see any of your transfer sheet, and then go ahead and get that pushed down. And then as soon as you close the lever, it will automatically start. A few other things. There is no time on here, no temperature to adjust. It's all based on your environment that you're in. So we'll just keep an eye on it. It's usually about 6 minutes, 5.5, 6 minutes long is how it's been for me. I do like to crack a window because it does have a little bit of a smell to it. It's just that normal. If you worked with Infusible Ink before, you know the smell. But there is just a little bit of a smell. If that bothers you, you might just want to open a window. But we will let that go, and then we will get this mug finished up. Okay, so it's all finished. We can go ahead and lift that lever and then just carefully remove it. It'll be super hot. And then I'm just going to leave it on my Easy Press mat until it finishes. We'll turn that off. If you don't have a mat, you can use like a kitchen trivet or a hot pad holder. So we'll just let that cool, and then we'll remove it when it's ready. All right, so it is cooled down, and now we can go ahead and remove the tape and the transfer sheet. And then here is the moment of truth. Ooh! Look how good that turned out. The yellow is super vibrant. I really like that. It's really pretty. All right, let's do the other side. All right, so I just finished removing the other side, and here's how it turned out. I think making mugs with the mug press is super fun. It's really easy to do, and they make great gifts as well. So definitely go get one if you don't have one yet. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the comments below, and we'd be happy to help you out. Otherwise, you can head to our website. The links for everything that we use in this project are in the description below. Thanks so much for watching.